Welcome. Tonight you're joining us for the second edition of Get That Job, and it's a program that's here to help job seekers hear directly from the experts about all the aspects of finding a job, maintaining a job, and managing your career effectively. I'm Sue Connelly, and I'm the founder of the Kit List, and it's a group of about 70,000 people of job seekers who get job emails, and I found over the years that although people are extremely good at their jobs, they might not be exactly comfortable or very expert in finding a job. So the purpose of this program is to be able to hear from people who can tell you directly from inside the companies who do the hiring, and people who are experts in various areas about career search, career coaching, and networking. Tonight our program is about networking, and instead of looking at networking in the usual way that we do it, we want to propose that you look at it as friend working, because networking, I don't know about the two of you, but it's kind of a scary prospect. And what we want to do tonight is give you some ideas to not only make it a fun and enjoyable and successful endeavor, but to really create a ripple effect that you can have with other people and create good for all. Tonight we are very lucky to have a very, very generous gentleman, Hamid Sadaat, who is the founder and chairman of CSIX Connect. And he actually has over 20 years of experience in operations management with companies including Network Equipment Technologies, Cisco, and a host of other really top-notch companies in this area. But the really special thing about Hamid is that in 2001, he started a networking group. It has grown to over 3,000 people, and what they do now is they share job leads, networking techniques. They also have networking events, and last night, Hamid even hosted an event where they had people from top companies in the area here give people tips and actually interview directly with them and give them direct recommendations for their own resumes. And then we're also very lucky to have Tom Brouchoud, who is a big kahuna at Sandisk, and he is the senior manager in charge of talent acquisition globally, and he comes from a long background in hiring people in the Silicon Valley, and it also includes having his own recruitment business and practice that he has probably helped, I can't even say, countless people get into key companies and actually probably even coach them and advise them on how to actually get into the jobs that they're going to love. So tonight, what we're going to talk about with these two networking experts, both of whom know each other very, very well, is to find out, first of all, what are some things that people might not realize that they're doing that would be a mistake that's hurting them? Because we have people who are very, very expert and senior level, and I'm finding they're making some unusual moves that end up hurting themselves that they might not even be aware of. So Tom, what are some of the classic or even unexpected things you might have seen people do?
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show today. Very much appreciated, and I'm excited to be here. Things that people do. Well, right now in this economy, there's a lot of things that people are trying to do if they're looking for work. They're submitting their resumes, they're talking to their friends and family, they're putting their resumes up on job boards, they're using companies like LinkedIn. But some of the things that people do is they get a bit intense with their job search. So they will spend time calling the companies. And while that could be good in the first couple of weeks, there's a fine line between talking
right.
and stalking, right? So you want to make sure
exactly.
that you approach your job search in a very constructive way. And there are a few things we can talk about to describe how that can be done.
Well, say they see a job and it's at Sandisk, and they say, I would love to work there. What would be a way that they can use their network to get in? Because people typically, they reply to a job, they send it off, and they say, gosh, I've submitted my resume at 1,000 places and never heard back.
I feel like I go into the black hole,
exactly.
Right?
And it does in some respects. So how do you actually get out of the black hole or have a way to get on the radar screen of the people who are the hiring managers or the people who are in the talent acquisition area?
Well, one of the key ways that we hire is through our employee referral program. So employee referrals are a wonderful way for you to talk to individuals who have some background. Maybe they've worked with people at your company in the past, maybe they have some history with them at another company or even in another function within Sandisk at another time. So employee referral, talking to people that you know, talking to people that you worked with in the past, people often have many years of experience and they're just not looking at that. They're not looking at the people that they've crossed paths with over the years and reaching out to those people and saying, hey, I know I worked with you at this company or that company. Do you have anything at Sandisk that is currently available? And oftentimes people don't think about it until asked. And so they'll go, okay, well, let me take a look at it. And then they find out that there's a nice bonus plan associated with employee referrals. And they go, wow, hey,
it's a win-win for everybody.
A win-win, exactly.
But they still owe someone a good dinner after that, right?
Right.
So it's really making the personal connection and saying...
Right, making that personal connection is very, very important.
And as a hiring manager, do you pay attention a little bit more to something where someone hand walks a resume and say, hey, this is a really good person, or... I would imagine that gives someone an advantage over something that just comes in off the internet.
Well, there's a qualified versus an unqualified. Oftentimes you get people that say, oh, my next door neighbor's looking for a job. And while that is an employee referral, and we will put that, we'll look at it, a qualified employee referral is very important. So really leveraging your friends and your networks to have them be your advocate inside the company. Well, think of a company that maybe you don't have any contacts. So what are your options? Well, your options are really to go in and to work through the company ranks, to try to find the hiring manager, trying to work with the recruiter, trying to post your resume, apply to jobs. And there's a lot of good things you can do at a company where you don't have a direct connection. But there are a lot of things that might work better when you do have that connection. And so getting that person to be your advocate inside the company is huge. And that could even help you get jobs that you may not be one-to-one qualified to do.
Right,
maybe you're a salesperson looking, looking to break into marketing. Maybe you're a marketing person looking to break into sales. And that person can be your advocate.
Well, I think this brings up a really good point, because there are people we know who might be in a company, but if you look on LinkedIn, that's how you find out, because you have friends, colleagues, you don't know maybe where they've gone, but LinkedIn is a really great tool to be able to see who is at a company that I know. But Hamid, you're so good at knowing how to connect people up, and you actually do a lot of connecting on behalf of others. Correct. You're really doing it out of a total generous spirit. So, but are you finding that when people are connecting and they're thinking about someone else, is there kind of a reciprocal thing that happens as a result?
It is. And actually, going back to what Tom mentioned at the same time, meeting people, going to different events, and always people like to help each other, especially if they've gone to some event and you get to know them. What you need to keep in mind that it's not a number game. It's not how many people you met, but actually the quality of the time that you spend with people and they get to know you. It doesn't have to be a tough thing to do. You just go to networking, have fun. And one of the things I want to emphasize, one of the things I have noticed, that you want to avoid just going and asking for a job. As soon as I say, hey, Sue, my name is Hamid, do you have a job for me? Well, that's usually a deterrent. That's something that usually is not a good start. You want to go and see, what is Sue? What do you like to do? You just came back from Hawaii. How was it? How do you like? Right. I've gone to Hawaii. So it's just you start the conversation, and then it's always a give and take. You give before you take. That's how it goes. And then by nature, people ask you, what do you do? What's going on with you? And then you start the conversation. It's very easy. It's not just going from one person to another person. Yeah. And I've noticed,
it's especially not speed dating, right?
It's exactly. Although it's a dating type of thing, but it's not speed dating. So people like to help each other. And when you become part of a group and you become friends, they want to know, they want to help.
Right.
It's just as human nature. Most of our people, just like Tom mentioned about referrals, people go and find a job, they become a hiring manager. Then immediately they think of other friends. Say, can I hire from here? Can I hire from here? I noticed that many of our people have been volunteering different places. As I walked to the studio tonight, I found 3 volunteers here. 3 CSIX volunteers that I haven't seen them for a long time. They used to volunteer different places. Now they've landed a job.
So I think that what you're talking about as well is volunteerism is a perfect way to be able to meet new people, and they also get to see you in action, where you get a sense of not only the quality of the person, but their commitment to their work and what they're doing. And the fact that they're volunteering it shows that they're even, a more incredible person.
Absolutely.
Well, so have you found, and I know that with all the networking events and all the things you do to really connect people together, what are some of the things, some of the pitfalls that people might not realize that they're doing? For instance, we spoke earlier about people who might scare people off by, possible negativity or over-intensity, or as you saying, being overly zealous. How do you, is it like a dance where, you don't want to appear too needy, but also be open?
Right.
What's the best way to go?
So let me tell you something. It's always, networking is not that easy. I mean, It's one of those things that people are just not comfortable, especially if you're not, if that's not something you've been doing. If you're not in sales and marketing, then this is usually not a very easy thing for you to approach, right? It's the engineering job. You don't have to go out and network a lot. So one of the things that usually we want to do, be approachable. Have the smile on your face and be warm, and you just go to a group of people, hey, my name is Hamid, and is this your first time here? Have you been to this type of events before? You just break the ice, you just start the conversation and get through that, versus going to the corner, get your drink and go in the corner and stand by yourself, hope that someone will come to you.
Yeah.
I hope someone will come to you with hors d'oeuvres, right?
Right, and that usually doesn't work, because people say, why do I have to go to this person if I can see this crowd of people who are having fun and joking and laughing and talking? So you just want to go, and usually people open up, help you. Start with your name and they say, here's what, I'm here, is this your first time? And conversation goes from there.
Well, and I think you've also mentioned too, I'm sorry to talk over you there, but focus on the other person. The whole thing is that you stop being self-conscious when you stop thinking about yourself, and you're focused on making the other person feel comfortable. Because if you look around that room, most likely you'll see a few other people who are standing there with a drink in their hand thinking, how am I going to break into this group?
Absolutely,
so
absolutely. Again, that's the other thing.
Become a host.
You don't want to go and talk about your life story and don't want to talk about all your accomplishments. This is what I've done. However, you want to hear from them, and by nature, they're going to be asking about you, and that's how the conversation starts. But I want to jump into something else very quickly, and that is, because I'm talking about the networking. There are networking that we all go to. CSIX is a networking event, and there are many other networking places, lots of meetups. But there's some fun networking that you want to go, and that's what I want to emphasize. There are lots of places you just want to have fun. This is Christmas time. This is the holidays. There are lots of parties going on. Your spouse has a company party. I'm sure Sandisk has a company party. You just go there, and it's a very informal type of place. You start talking to people, and that's how you become friends. And
but I think that a lot of people have a problem, because it's fun to go to a party, fun to go and meet people, but they're not able to make mortgage payments. They're not able to make rent payments. They're really looking to find that job, and they're looking for some of the skills and tools that they can use to be able to land that job. And I agree with you 100%. Good. But
I'm glad you are agreeing. That's not the case always.
but it is. People are looking for answers right now. People are looking for, what can I do to get that job? And it's really tough, because there is no golden ticket, right? There's no silver bullet to solve that problem. There's a lot of different things you can do to effectively network, to get out there, to be in front of people, but there's a lot of things that you have to do. You can't just pick one and go with it. You can't just network. You also have to put yourself out there in other ways in order to get noticed by employers and to get that job.
Well, when you're talking to someone who's looking for a job, in fact, last night you're referring to someone who actually wanted to take the resume back and said, oh, no, you don't want to hire me. And so I think a key there, and I think you might want to explain that situation, but don't assume that just because you're not 100% fit for a job that a company wouldn't be interested in you, or that a friend wouldn't be willing to advocate for you inside a company. But say a little bit about what happened at the event last night.
It was actually a lot of fun. I was doing a roundtable discussion, I like to call it circle time, with some of the participants. And we were talking about resumes, and we were going through the resumes, and I'm a very big proponent of practical, hands-on, in-your-face advice when it comes to resumes. I'm not going to make things, sugarcoat them to make them easier to swallow. I tell people what they need to hear in order to give people the best possibility of getting a job. So some people might take that the wrong way. So I was looking at this one individual's resume, and they were trying to break into an HR field, of which I know a lot about. And I told them, I said, your resume doesn't say anything about HR, anything what you can do, and I'm reading it in a certain way, and it's just not really going to draw the hiring manager's attention for an HR position. But I was spending more time on the resume just by virtue of the fact that I was talking to this individual. And I said, okay, great. And I gave the advice, and then I put the resume in my pile, and she goes, well, can I have that back? And I said, well, no, I'd actually like to keep it. And she goes, well, you're not going to hire me. I said, well, no. The advice here is not meant to discourage you from applying. It's just helpfully you'll take your resume, you'll make some updates, and maybe have some better luck if you're trying to break into this field. So people kind of make their own minds up about if they're qualified for a job. And yeah, maybe they're not qualified for a job, and that's okay, but never give up. Never stop trying. And do not undersell your own abilities. Do not undersell your own qualities.
I think that's a really important thing, because I hear from people who see jobs and there's a whole laundry list of something that you look and you think, if this actually exists in a single person, good luck in finding them. And they end up not applying when actually a good 80% fit is plus your personality and plus your work ethic would land you the job. So I think that's important for people to know that. I think another thing that we were talking about earlier was it really is a seed planting endeavor. And I think going back to kind of the dating analogy, when you meet someone, you don't say, "Hi, Hamid, will you marry me?" It's you look and you say you get to know them. You realize it takes a little bit of time, and that ultimately then you can get to that marriage. But when people are looking for a job, they want a job right now. And I think it's having to understand that you've got to plant the seeds. In many cases, even though you mentioned about this particular person, you might not have a job for that person right now, but it could open up next week or next month. So it's looking more in long term. And I think that's another important thing to know about networking is you don't just network when you're looking for a job. So what would you recommend to people who have jobs? Why would they want to keep networking right now?
For the same reason you just mentioned, because you never know, especially in this economy, especially in this valley, you never know when you're going to need to either move up to something different, find a better opportunity, or, God forbid, you may be laid off or the company may go down, or for whatever reason. We have seen companies that just go somewhere else. People don't want to move. But there are many reasons that you may lose that job, or you may not be with that company anymore, or for that particular function. You want to have your options open. Again, at CSIX, we've been around for over 10 years. I've seen many people who have just gone, found a job, come back again. And they stay connected. They were the hiring manager, now they're looking for a job again. And their hiring manager has happened over and over and over. That's very good to stay connected because you want to be with friends and you want to make sure that if there's an opportunity comes up, take it. And plus, you have another circle of friends outside of your cubicle people, right?
Well, and also I think it's tempting to not do that when you're busy doing your job.
It is,
and
correct.
People have lives that they're having outside of work. But I think that when you look at it as being that it is your job to stay connected. And when we also talk about the whole concept of friend working, it's also saying you're not networking just for yourself. You're networking to be connected to others and to help others. Once you've got the job, you almost have this moral imperative to help other people because someone probably helped you. And that's another thing I'd like to talk about with networking. What are some things that people need to do to follow up? You know, as you're saying, people are handing you a resume or you're giving someone a lead into a company. What are the ways to follow up appropriately so that, first of all, you haven't burned that lead and that you've also helped them know what happened to you?
So that's, can I jump in and you can correct, because I know you're going to...
I'll interrupt you if I need
I know you will do that anyway, so let me at least start my chat. No, a couple of things. If you come out of the date, the first thing you want to do, just be prompt. Send a thank you note, send a reminder. I just met you at this place. It was a pleasure talking to you, and especially if you shared some interest. It was good that you both ride motorcycles and can we meet at some place. Send a note, remind them about that. And here's my contact information, looking forward to talking to you. When that person connects you with somebody else, again, send a thank you note. It was thank you for the introduction, and then jump to the other person. Talk to the other person about, here's my background, here's what I do, and as so-and-so mentioned, that's what I like to do. Stay connected and make sure the first person who introduced you, be sure to thank that person and appreciate. It doesn't matter what happens at the end. You may or may not get the job, it may not go any further, but at least they would appreciate. I get plenty of complaints from people who say, I just did the introduction, but this person never followed up, never sent their resume, never did anything. And why did I do that? So it's very important to do that. It's your chance if you want to jump in and...
Go for it, Tom.
I think that after you interview, so if you're talking about after the interview or after you've sent your resume...
both. The person who gave you the lead and also the person with whom you're interviewing.
Okay. So if you actually have an interview, it's appropriate to follow up within a week or so, maybe after 2 weeks after that.
Handwritten letter or an email or both?
Fine. A lot of people they feel nice when you actually do a handwritten note, but the amount of times that I receive a handwritten note in a year, I can count them on one hand. I just don't receive them anymore. I've become more used to the email response. And actually, I will tell you, not very many candidates actually write thank you notes anymore.
See,
it is a nicety. It's something I go, wow, that was a very nice note when it happens. You tend to see it at the more senior levels than at the more entry level, like at the new college grad level.
Mom and Dad have to work on them a little bit.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, actually, Hamid, you mentioned too that what do senior level people do? Because I think a lot of people who are senior think they've got a really established network, and they think they've got the networking skills down, or maybe need to brush them off. But you mentioned too that that's kind of an important thing to talk about. So can you share some insight?
Sure. Again, if you're a senior level and you're out of job, which happens a lot, and you can see that happens, one of the biggest things that, oh, is my age going to be something against me? Is this, how do I have always been the hiring manager, I've always been the side of the table. Now they have to go back to the other side, start looking for a job. In some cases, they have to look for a job which is a bit lower the level that they used to have, lower level in the position-wise or also salary-wise. So that was a challenge. And where do you look for that? And when you compete with the younger generation, especially many of younger generation, sometimes it's not as easy. So there are many places they can go to. Again, we can make a fun event. You can go to places that always have to go to networking. That's my biggest thing. I know you have to look at many places.
Really
face to face, because that's where you look at, say, this person has the chemistry, they have the personality, and has the experience. Believe it or not, there are many companies, and again, you can look at it. There are many companies who want senior level people because of their experience, because they have been around the block. We have done many of these things before. So you're looking for that type of experience who can come and talk and take charge. Those are the senior level people. But there are many websites you can go to. As Tom mentioned earlier, it's not only one answer. There are many places. Websites like Simply Hired, Jobs 4.0, Boomers Jobs, and many other places that you can go. And these are places you can tailor your requirements. I'm looking for jobs of this level. You'll be surprised to see how many email alerts you receive from those jobs. Again, go to many places. What I always like to talk about is that people talk about being at the right place at the right time. And my philosophy is that people who are at the right place at the right time, they go to many places many times. And that's how they end up being at the right place at the right time. That's where, if you are people looking for luck, if it's not there, create your luck by going to places.
I can't recall who said that, but someone said the harder I work, the luckier I get. And so
exactly, that's right.
But I think that also what both of you have been saying is make it fun. I think that when someone takes it too seriously, it does have that adverse effect where it kind of repels people.
You know what, I have to jump in here also because it's make it fun, because I did that. I used to go hiking, and I figured, why am I doing that by myself? Send an email to the CSIX and say, I'm going to have this hiker group, 7 o'clock every Tuesday. I was surprised. So many people showed up. 7 o'clock in the morning. I know Tom doesn't want to go.
That's because you're Hamid, though. I mean, okay.
But now you don't have to do it alone. And what happened as byproduct of this thing, because you have an hour and a half of undivided attention of these people, few people there together, now we got to know each other. We're helping each other. It just happened that I met the CEO of a company that was looking for a marketing person. That marketing person walks with me every Tuesday. So now we have an interview for that marketing person talking to the CEO of the company. It's great. People help each other. We started C6 riders for people who ride motorcycles. Go to Alice's restaurant every Wednesday.
Oh, great.
Enjoy it. I actually want to jump in here. There is a... it's my turn now. So there are many positions that have been filled at Sandisk just from people I've managed to connect with, and several years later, they get a job. It's because I've connected with them,
exactly.
and I keep connected with them, and they keep connected with me. I have the job now at Sandisk because I kept in contact with somebody that I knew over several years, and then they referred me into a position at Sandisk. So there are many, many different ways to network, but you can't expect it to be the answer in a short notice. You have to build this. You have to plant those seeds, as you were talking about earlier, and then you have to wait and nurture and help them to grow. And over time, you can get the job. It's just, you can't expect it to happen overnight.
Exactly. Well, and I think the whole part about networking, too, is to not make it this chore, but to realize that it's really part of life, where we're connecting with people every single day. And I think that if you make that, I think, Hamid, you were saying that initially when you were going to networking events, you were kind of not very comfortable, but you became...
Yeah, it became easy. Later on, you just learn, you know how to talk to people, and it becomes so easy. You just practice like anything else. You just practice, just going to places and meeting people. What is interesting is not only the networking part, also what else you learn from these people. I go talk to Tom. He said, oh, by the way, have you heard of this other meeting? I go to many of these meetup places, entrepreneur meetup, and I go there, and somebody says, oh, there's one in Santa Cruz. Great, I'd love to go to Santa Cruz. I just go there, especially in summertime. You enjoy the networking, you enjoy the beach. It's always fun things you can do with your time, and also you learn from other people what other places you can go to. It's amazing how much information you can get by just meeting other people.
The inside scoop. Well, I think another point that we wanted to bring up too is that with the whole networking aspect of it, if you follow the things you really enjoy, you're more of your natural self. And I also always say you don't have to do it alone. I think you mentioned as well too about even just with the hiking.
Yes.
But even if you have a networking event, bring a buddy, bring someone along.
Sure.
And I think that what really kind of breaks it down is that you don't have to, go and, go through and try to meet strangers all in one night.
It shouldn't be a forceful thing, right?
Well, and also I think just make it say, I want to make it really simple. I'm going to meet 2 people and have 2 in-depth discussions with people and really get to know them. And then I always find it's important to kind of take notes after. When you have the business card, write something down so you can say, oh, I met them at such and such an event. And, even I sometimes put down a little personal note about them, like, like as you said,
Absolutely.
they're going to Harley, going to, all the bike riders going to Alice's restaurant. That's something that...
It's sports bike. I'm just kidding.
Sports bike?
Right, I'm sorry.
You mean mountain biking or?
No, sports bike. It takes out Ninja, BMWs, Ducatis.
I had no idea about that about you. See, that's...
Did you know that I have a Class A commercial license plate? I drive 18-wheelers. I just got as fun part of it. My wife always bugs me for that. I say, why did you do that?
Well, and then that goes to the point that the longer you know
so many
someone...
people when taking that school. I met so many people when taking the trucking school.
So take trucking school and you'll get a job, right?
That's true. Actually, I found somebody who was looking for a job, but I was able to help him. I didn't get a job in trucking school.
But we're also talking about, we're gifted with the gift of gab, right? We're more open to having conversations and networking. If you're not comfortable with networking, then you can actually join groups that have like interests. So if you're a software engineer, there's lots of software groups. If you're a hardware engineer, there's like groups that'll do, and you can look on organizations like LinkedIn to find these groups or to find where there's going to be a meeting or their networking function that's actually specifically targeted towards your type of your interests.
Or meetups even for more of the social
So I need to add up to what you just said. That was a good point that you brought up. For especially technical people, there are lots of good places you can go to and to find jobs, actually. Those are like, go to Toastmasters, that's a good place.
Great.
But in addition to that, there are IEEEs, there are technical sessions, that there are all other people who are technical and they talk about something. And especially if you're looking
So do a little sleuthing then, right, to find the groups.
Absolutely.
Actually, I wanted to thank you both. We're running out of time, but this has been an incredibly productive session.
Much.
Thank you for being so generous with your
thanks
time.
for inviting
Thanks
us.
for joining us tonight on Get That Job. And go out and network and friend work and have some fun with it. Take care.
Very good.